And it was a conversation like this, just about like, what are you doing this week and any programs and stuff. And then all of a sudden, both of them, join on with their 160 trillion followers. And then there's like 40 people in the room having this conversation. So
That's amazing. Well, this is only my second Instagram live conversation ever. So
nice.
big morning for me.
That's good. It's always a
Yes,
moment of courage to just do that and just throw yourself out there, right? So
exactly. Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
So Ami, like it's not Amy, it's Ami.
Correct. Like
Like
friend in
like
French.
French, like mon ami.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
So what does your handle mean, and what do you do?
Um, so I'm a Pilates instructor, a personal trainer,
Hmm.
for over 20 years.
Hmm.
So I just kind of get, you know, I don't know. I've just been doing this for so long, and I love hearing the other people that have been doing this for a long time, what they have to say. And
Yes.
the last few years, I've really just changed. I mean, like many people, just changed my focus and kind of really narrowed down what's important about
Mm,
what we do and how we do it, and um, making our creating more accessibility in what we do. So I just,
yeah.
I'm listening, applying, listening, asking questions, listening.
Yes.
So a lot of that.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
And so, I mean, I was gonna ask now, how much of your client base is like, um, hey, Misty, how's it going?
Hi,
Um,
Misty.
how much of your client base is like personal training? How much of it is Pilates? Is there people who are just doing both, like me, where you kind of overlap and everything's intertwined, or are some people who are pure one and pure the other?
A little bit of both, but mostly I mix it all together.
Yes.
I have a long background in injury prevention, pain management, um, people that have had gone through a lot of trauma. So I really try and bring in whatever is appropriate for that person that
Hmm.
day. So
Yes.
I actually do very limited advanced programming. It's
Okay.
really, how are you today? What do we need to do today in this moment?
Mm,
Either, maybe somebody's different in the morning than they are in the afternoon.
absolutely.
So really trying to be present with each person and each group of people
Sure.
in that moment. So a big hybrid of training and Pilates.
Isn't it interesting? And I like this. People, I think you have to understand too, like with my personal training and Pilates background, when me starts to talk personal training, Pilates, like there's this connection instantly because I just know what that's like where you have this
Yes,
massive toolbox,
massive toolbox. Yes,
right?
and
So,
I think I've been I've been a Pilates instructor since 2000, and
yep,
then a personal trainer since 2003.
right.
Like, and I've been all over. I lived in New York, I lived in DC, so I've been able to gain a lot of exposure with different types of Pilates, different
Hmm.
approaches, styles, same with
Right.
swimming. So it's fun to, just apply all of
Yes.
that stuff to whatever people need.
You're like a master chef.
Yes, and I love cooking, which is fun.
There you
I One of
go.
my favorite things to do is just look in the kitchen or in the cupboard and say, "All right, we're going to use
Right.
chickpeas today.
Yes.
What can I do?"
Right.
And you've
Exactly.
got this
Yep.
limited thing that you work around, and you build and construct something
Right.
in the moment. So
How many
that's
exercises could you do with a towel?
right.
Right?
Gazillion.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So the point I'm making with this is when we start people out in the personal training world, it's like program design. Don't look like you're making it up on the spot. Be professional, present in that way. And then you reach a spot where you have so many tools in your toolbox and you figured out how to listen and then you can do it with a skeleton of a plan.
Right. And when you know someone well enough when you know somebody's body and their emotions, maybe who they
Yes.
are, you can
Yes.
really then just create something
Create.
for them. Yeah, I
Yes.
love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, do you have a studio? Do you work out of a studio, independent contractor? What's your
I'm
deal
an
in terms of the
independent
way?
contractor. Mostly the summer has been a little stressful with personal things going on, but mostly virtual still.
Okay. Yeah.
So almost like 40 hours a week virtual, which is just, I, I
Misty would be like,
never in a
yay.
million years thought that this would happen. I love meeting
Good.
people, but it's just worked out that way, and it's really nice. And I come out on my patio and work with people virtually outside or on the road.
Yeah.
I'm going to start seeing people in person again in September,
Hmm.
so that'll be fun, just at a local studio and see where that goes. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah, but it's been a
So,
while since I've seen
yeah.
people in person, so I'm going to be a little awkward,
Hmm.
you know. So we'll
You get it
see.
back quick. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, tell me about adventure. Sorry, I'm like totally hijacking your morning now.
Oh
Like,
no, that's fine. I've got 10 minutes before my next
okay.
person. So I love traveling. I love just adventuring, and so that I was on a trip. I did the Inca Trail many years
Mm.
ago, and one of the people that was on the trail with me, we were there like 4 days, sleeping in tents and the whole thing. And one of the people said you should have your website should be Adventures of Ami. I was like, ooh, I like that. So
Mm.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just like to, whatever, yeah,
Down for
adventure.
whatever.
Life is an adventure, and we just go with it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
I had.
actually,
Sorry.
it's funny. I just thought of something the other day. I was doing a workshop on creating more accessible spaces in the outdoor industry. So
Okay.
part of what I do is take people outside, exercising outside in parks, and so I did this program to try and create a more accessible environment in the outdoor industry. And the first question in this workshop was, what does adventure mean to you? And adventure can mean something completely different to everyone. Every single
Yes.
person, adventure is different. And so I started thinking about that this week with Pilates and the conversations that you have with people. It's so much about, what does Pilates mean to you, and what has it done
Hmm.
for you, and how do you experience it? And the same with personal training. Um,
Yes.
and so I've been thinking, what does Pilates mean to you? And it's the same idea as, what does adventure, the word
Adventure.
adventure, mean
Yes.
to you or to any other person? And it kind of
Hmm.
fits
It
both.
does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That makes me smile because I was going through some old of my Instagram pictures and like my Finish Strong Friday posts and all these different things. And there's a picture of me sitting on a curb in my car, and the post says, some call it being lost, and others call it on an adventure.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
And that is a perfect description of my wife and I, because I call it being lost. Where are we? What's the strategy? Where are we supposed to be next? And she's like, this is adventure. We'll just eeny, meeny, miny, moe our way through Japan. Or we'll just, she loves that adventure and just the adventure of not knowing where we're going next and just figure it out and just enjoying the journey and finding special foods. And whereas I'm like, okay, what's next? Okay, where we go next? And I've
Yeah.
had to learn to relax into the adventure instead
Yeah.
of just calling it being lost and being unsure and being uncertain.
Wow. Is
That
that
was like
hard for
that's
you
been
to do?
I've had a lot of reps. I'm
Yes.
feeling pretty good with that now, but like I still recognize how that's my knee jerk reaction, and then I can lean into that adventure part of it, and
Right.
then put on my game face like I always was down for the adventure. When the reality is that at first I was like, okay, wait,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I think, I moved from the East Coast out to Colorado, and there's a big element of what I consider adventure out here. And it's,
hmm
sometimes you get on the road and things do not go according to plan. There's a rock slide,
Hmm.
an afternoon, thunderstorm, and you just have to kind of figure it out as you go. And that's also just part of how I approach my work too. Just kind of figure it out as you go. And
Yeah. Right.
yeah,
Okay, so I clearly have to adjust my own control issues, so that's fine. Um,
it's good. It's a nice practice in
yes.
like looking at it, I think. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it is in everything in life.
Absolutely. And there's the thing too, like I mean, in different contexts, you're fearless, and in another context, you want certainty, right? Like,
Right. And it's how much fear do you feel like engaging with at any given?
yes.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was actually a powerful line I read somewhere where they said the opposite of fear isn't faith. The opposite of fear is certainty. Is that how it
Oh,
goes? Opposite of faith and certainty, opposite. Let me process that again. But there's
yeah.
a point that the part in there was about certainty being the opposite of faith, where it's like
Interesting.
you want to believe is not doubt. Faith and doubt is faith and certainty. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Um,
it's like we reach out for certainty is the point I'm making to, even though I butchered that
you're
quote.
reaching
That's
out for certainty. That makes sense.
yeah,
I actually enjoy fear. I think of it as just as important as any other emotion. Um, how we manage it and deal with it. So,
interesting.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well,
That's
it's
an
so nice
adventure,
to
I
get
guess.
pardon.
That's the adventure, right? Like
That's the
exploring.
adventure.
Yeah.
We don't know and just go with it and see what happens. So,
Yes. I feel you on that.
yeah.
I mean, thank you so
It
much.
was so nice to finally chat with you.
Yes. I mean, I still would love to have you on for a full conversation because I totally want to unpack how you're figured out like what's next for you in terms of
I
your
would love to.
virtual and your adventure piece. And like, there's so much more to be said there. So,
I would love that. Yes,
okay,
let's do it.
cool.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Have a
Awesome.
great day.
Thank you. You too. See ya.
And now I have to figure out how to
Oh, yeah. Top right corner, there's an X.
yes.
Hit that and you're out.
All right. There we go. All right. Bye.
Bye. Yes. Very cool. So, Jen, this is a topic that Mr. Lynn Cawthon and I and Cecile Elias had yesterday. We were talking about mentoring, talking about the different ways that Pilates has done teacher training programs over the years, how people have opened up their studios and then they have other teachers coming in, so they're teaching them the work. So they decide to have a mentoring program or they have a teacher training program. And all those elements of it are great. And the thing that Cecile said yesterday, which we didn't even touch the surface of really, was how when they had, good morning, Coach Robin, when they had someone come in who has a doctorate, a PhD in leadership, and was talking with them about mentoring programs and taking time with people, she was saying that Cecile was saying her realization was that she hadn't been mentoring all those years. She had actually been tutoring. Mentoring versus tutoring. And she went on to just say very loosely, just scratching the surface, about the difference between mentoring and tutoring. And my head naturally went to my kids or me back in the day getting a tutor for a subject. And it's like, here's the answer, here's the formula, figure this out. Let me see where you went wrong. That was a good step. Try this next time. Can you get this formula? Can you identify this formula? And so on. So before, and Cecile, you're here. Nice. Um, Cecile, if you have any time want to join me on screen, I'm talking about that tutoring versus mentoring piece from yesterday. If you got a minute, give me a thumbs up. If you're driving, you can't do it. I'm going to unpack it anyways. But Before I throw out some of the words and talking points from yesterday and my own thoughts on this, because I think about mentoring and leadership a lot, a lot. What do you define as tutoring and what do you define as mentoring? Put it in the comment section or request to join and talk with me on screen. Cecile, if you're here and want to unpack your experience of that tutoring versus mentoring piece more, we can do it. But I want to hear from you. What's your thoughts on those two terms? And I'm going to unpack that a little bit more to talk about what that means for the work that we do, for the people that we work with. And I will share a quick story of one of the guys that I'm working with right now. Wow. The leg and everything catches up with the comments. There's a guy that I've been doing some Pilates with for a long time. He used to be, I know. So Jen, I'd love to have you on too. So there's a guy that during COVID started doing some Pilates in my house. Actually, we trained even before that. So I've had this on and off working relationship with this guy, fit guy, former, track athlete and stuff. And you've heard me talk about how the power, the strength that he has as an athlete, not coming from the dance world, coming from a different world. There's a lot of exercises that don't lend to his sport. That's a separate conversation. But when we're talking with him, the last time around that we started doing Pilates again, I said this like half joking, half serious to him. You are on a 5-year track to becoming a Pilates teacher. And I said that you're in my 5-year plan of becoming a Pilates teacher. And he's like, okay, I'm down. And because of that, when we meet once a week, this guy puts in work, he does his workouts, he does stuff that we do on his own. But when I'm teaching him, I'm not just giving him exercise after exercise. I will give him an exercise, tell him why we're doing the exercise, time out, let's jump over to the ladder barrel and do the same exercise over there. Okay, cool. Let's go do that exercise on the mat. Did you know that we could also do that exercise on the chair? So we're going to do, so I'm drawing the threads and giving him the connections, and I'm telling him why we're doing exercises. So my 1 hour with this guy, because I have a 5-year plan with him, is different than my teaching of some other client who's there because they're trying to improve their posture or they lose their body fat or something. So the conversation is different. I'm going to bring on Jen. And Seal, if you want to join us too, that'd be cool. Hi, Carrie Miller. Hello.
Hey there.
I'll let you get your headphones set up there.
Can you hear me, Martin? Hi.
Yes.
I'm
Hey.
standing at the front desk. Look who's next to me. It's Dina Blair.
Hello. You got a bit of lag there. Christina Blair? Okay, we'll get Jen back on. So, Misty, I'm bringing Jen Hall back on. We had an amazing conversation with her a few weeks back. Yes, I saw you. Okay, let's see if this works. Hey.
Hi. We'll try this again.
Okay, was that Christine you said? Christina?
No,
Christine?
it's Dina Blair. She's
Dina Blair. Okay, cool.
our Pilates aficionado at Concourse in Atlanta.
Get it. Nice.
Yeah, she was trained before there was a training, back then.
Yes. Nice. So you have a lot to say on this topic.
Just my biggest thought about the topic is that as a mentor, your goal should be for the person who is being your mentee to be better at you than the skill you're mentoring them to have, and you cannot be threatened or in competition with them. And I have found in our industry that is a real problem. A lot of people are asking you to pay them to mentor you and then taking some of the opportunities that might have come your way for themselves. I've seen that up close and personal. It's ugly, not fun. And I think that having a mentor cannot be overvalued. Everyone should have 1, 2, 5, 10 for whatever venture they're attempting. But I also will say it's important to find the right mentor whose motivation is truly to help you improve and nothing else.
Yes. Right. That piece right there. Preach, as Misty says, because we should always be looking to duplicate ourselves and to make that 2.0 version better than us.
Yes, like, you know, my background as a dance teacher, that's my first thing. And if I have a dancer who I taught that becomes better than me, that is the happiest you can make me.
Right.
A kid who can tap better than I can, or turn more times than I can, or get a better, you know, get better perspective from their dance than I can, I did the right thing. And if someone I mentor in the fitness industry becomes an overwhelmingly successful person, then I did the right thing. And that will come back to you in another way, maybe not specifically from that person.
Sure.
But that kind of goodness will come back to you. Whereas if you're only in it for your own ego, you might have to reevaluate your own methods.
Right.
And if you are charging people mentoring fees, which a lot of people do, and that's a lot of time, I understand why people charge mentoring fees, then you have to be willing to get rid of your own ego. And that's one of the hardest parts of the human condition. You have to be able to shut that ego off and not think about, well, I could have done that, or why didn't I get that offer, or how is this person not paying it forward to me when I help them with their career? You have to let all of that go. And it's a really huge personal growth experience, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes. I was like, I'll tell this story. No, that would incriminate the person. I'll tell this story. No, I'll incriminate that person.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'll tell this story, which is actually not going to incriminate anyway. The studio that I'm in right now, the guy, Andrew, who runs this studio, we've had conversations about how he wants to make this space a launch pad. So there's chiros, there's physios, there's personal trainers, myself, there's a bunch of people, and his idea is empower you. If you leave, take your people with you. I'm sure we could bring people back in, but let this be their home, their family. And my hope is that this is the last place that you work before you hit your stride.
Yeah.
I want someone to be like, I've made it big. I'm big time. I have my own space. I have arrived. And the last place I was at before I arrived was High Octane.
Yeah.
Like, it's a launch pad, right? So like, I love his perspective on that, instead of like, these are my people, don't take my people, and don't grow beyond me.
Well, and I'll tell you, like, I've learned the most from all the people that I consider mentors. I've probably learned the most about that kind of thinking from Jules Arney. Do you know who Jules Arney is? She works for Apple now. Okay. She used to be really big in the master training and fitness industry spaces with Jay Blahnik. Did a lot of Bosu and Schwinn and basically athletic training type of stuff, and now works for Apple Fitness. Okay. But she sent me a dance job one time, just out of the blue, doesn't really know me other than, hey, I know you can dance and you're in the fitness industry. And I wrote back to her and I was like, that was like the most thoughtful thing for you to do that. What can I do, to repay you? And she basically just said, find another dancer and send them the next dance job.
Boom.
So that stuck with me. I mean, I've had some other mentors who I should have just ran away years before I realized what was really going on. But she taught me things that I don't think I would have ever known without her. And that's really valuable in the mentoring space. Because, I can teach you how to get CECs for your program.
Yes.
But I can't necessarily teach you how to be a better human unless you're already on that track.
Right. There's that making a better human piece that is always there when it's done well, but is not in the job description.
Yeah, it's just weird though. Like if you think of most of us in fitness or wellness, we're there from a place of benevolence. We're there wanting
Absolutely.
to help other people. So why not help our colleagues, or those who will be the next generation of colleagues? Like, because
Right.
that just exponentially multiplies the number of people you touch. Because if
Right.
everyone I train, I change their lives, and then I train, Debbie to do what I do, then everyone she trains, I also change their lives. So
Right.
you're exponentially multiplying your effect as a positive
Your
person
scope of impact. Absolutely.
without Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or TikTok, all in
Exactly.
person.
Right. Not like digital influencer, like real time
Real influencer,
influencer.
a real person
Yes.
who really influences other people in their lives.
Yes. That's the goal. Hashtag goals. Dad goals. Right there. All
Goals,
right.
right?
You look like you're on your way somewhere, so I don't want
Well,
to keep you.
I just taught, so I'm disgusting, right?
Okay.
So now I have to shower before I work with my clients because they don't want to smell me,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I
But
feel
I
you.
really appreciate you letting me hop on and just give my 2 cents about it.
No,
And
that's solid stuff.
I would say like mentors are invaluable. Like I've learned some even from the bad mentors I have, I still learned amazing things. So I would tell people don't be shy. Just know, listen to your intuition. Listen to
Sure.
your intuition. What do you feel from that person? Do you feel like they're genuinely there to lift you up?
Yes.
So that would be
That's
my
good.
advice. And thank you, Martin. You're amazing.
Thank you
Love
so
listening
much.
to you all the time.
Appreciate it. Thanks for this. Great. Thanks for your words of wisdom there.
Of course. Bye, you guys.
Awesome. All right. Hit the X top right corner to get out, and we're good to go. Amit, good to see you. That all that stuff that she just said was so good. That yeah, Shannon, you are in a totally different space, but this mentoring piece is a very intentional, integral part of what you do. And the reason why I made the title "Fluid Teaching" is because that's what we're talking about. It's not just like X then Y then Z. It is very fluid, and you're teaching how to teach, and it's all those different things. There's a great amount of work in that. I mean, we're talking about a word that Cecile used yesterday of teaching of mentoring versus tutoring, and painting the picture of what tutoring is and painting the picture of what mentoring is, and coming to the sad reality that many of the mentoring programs and teacher training programs that we thought were mentoring were actually just tutoring. Here's the formula, here's the solution, here's the problem, identify the problem, move on to the next solution. As opposed to, here are some of the talking points that came out of yesterday: collaboration, inspiration, conversation, brainstorming, exploring possibilities, and fluidity. Those are the elements of a mentoring relationship versus instruction. Full stop. What are your thoughts on that? Please feel free to join me on screen if you want to just, instead of typing something out, just jump in into the conversation. I'd love to have you on and talk this out. And like Jen's amazing perspective on it, it's about making the next person better than yourself, not stamping them down, not withholding opportunity from them because it may supersede or overshadow you, but making that next person under your wing soar. PVE design, yes, feedback is so good. Inviting feedback is even better. It's one thing to get feedback, it's another thing to invite. Be courageous enough to invite feedback. What do you need? What do you think? Where is this going? Is this beneficial? What should we stop? What should we start? What should we continue? So Amit's asking, but are you talking about a basic teacher training course or a mentoring program for qualified teachers? Yeah. So if you are in an advanced mentoring program, I think there's more intentionality to it because you have the basics down, so you don't get mired in the instructional piece, and you can give time to the mentoring piece. But what I said before you got on was there's a gentleman that I'm working with right now that I have on a 5-year plan of mentoring. So we're in the instructional phase, but it's also a mentoring in terms of the way that I present it, the conversation, and the space to explore possibilities of people. So, I mean, I think that a basic teacher training program can be a mentoring program. That's my own opinion. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that? Because that really does come down to the heart of the teacher trainer. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. When I was working as an education specialist for Lifetime and I was doing those courses and the PT training courses, I'll get to Misty's comment in a second. When I was doing those courses, I loved the opportunity to teach them stuff between the stuff. This is how you drink the Kool-Aid for corporate America. This is how you sell personal training. This is how you balance out work and life. This is how you pick up your kids and still get here on time for your session tomorrow. This is what a date night with your wife looks like so that you don't forsake her while you're trying to get your business off the ground. There's some little pieces in there about making them a better human that gets intertwined in the exercises and the methodology. That's the thing that I'm talking about. Misty's comment here, but in selecting a TT program, of course, I think people should be more curious and critical of whom they choose to work with. Yes, because a lot of times we go after a name. We go after a status. We go after a lineage. But do we go after a person who truly resonates with us? Or am I excited about the certificate that says that I'm a second generation teacher because I did so-and-so's program? Or do I find a friend who lives in Stockholm who will teach me and pour into me because they found me on Instagram and saw something with my wrist and asked if they could teach me, and from there we build this beautiful relationship, right? Like there's all those different things. So Amit's comment here, I agree, but it also requires that the student will already have an understanding of what Pilates is and how it feels in their body. Otherwise, the course is reduced to just instruction. I think it could be a both and. It doesn't have to be an either or. It's a long process. And that's the thing. If it's going to be a both and, we're not talking about a 6-week program. We're not talking about a weekend crash course in Pilates. Years, my friend, years, years, years. So Misty's comment here, yes, Amit, they absolutely should have that understanding. Problem is that they don't. They're not ready for mentoring in those cases. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. You could have a room full of students for a teacher training program, and you may end up mentoring one of the people in that whole teacher training because they are ready. You as a teacher are ready, like your head's on the swivel. You're scanning the room for someone who is just hanging off your every word, who is doing the homework on their own, who is asking questions. That's it. That's your mentoring program. The flip side to that, I'll share another story, is back maybe 2 years ago, Gratz was going to do a workshop and a profile on me. And as they were preparing to do this profile, they sent me the rough draft of it. And in the rough draft, it says that Martin Reed was mentored by Chris Robinson. I sent them a message back saying that's not true. Chris Robinson sent them a message back saying that's not true. I learned from Chris, but I wasn't mentored by Chris. And both of us, understanding the value and power of mentoring, recognize that Him flying into Toronto 3 times a year doesn't mean that I'm his student for mentoring. I wouldn't take credit for that. He wouldn't give credit for that. That's a different conversation. That's a different relationship. So there's something intentional about all those pieces, right? So I'm going to read Emma's comment here. Totally agree, Misty. And also with you, Martin, if the teaching program is not long enough to accommodate for that, but lost programs aren't, most programs aren't, most, gotcha. And Misty said, as a teacher, we should be ready to meet them where they are. Always, always. Good points. And PVC Patricia is saying, I have an 89-year-old client who is a mentor to me for life. He loves Pilates. Yes, this is a lifetime gig. Sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow and to commit to. Um, Lifetime contracts that go out like Bally Fitness in Canada. But yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. Sorry, this makes me think, there's a lot of stuff out there, and it all comes back to intentionality once again. So you could have a teacher training program, and the person thinks that they're mentoring everyone, and no one in the room is being mentored when they call it that. So, the stories I could tell that will not go public. Yes. Any other thoughts on that? So the tutoring, now this is the other piece too. What Cecile was talking about, she wasn't hating on tutoring. She was saying that's fine. There's recognizing that instructional phase and all those different things. I think this comes back around to communication. And for me, like everything, label it, tell it, call it what it is, educate people on what it is, because you roll into a mentoring program and you're being tutored and you get sent on your way, and then you tell people that you're mentored. That ain't it. You hang your shingle to call it a mentoring program, and you give people a booklet and send them on their way with a certificate and never see them again. That ain't it. So, yes. Wednesday friend Misty, do you want to join me for a few minutes here? This is obviously something that you're very passionate about as well. Because you said yesterday that we need to get over our lack of humility and get back in the dirt again. Understand what it means to learn from people, and for us to look out and to reach out for those mentors, no matter where we are in our Pilates journey. Good stuff. Pat, well, Mel, thanks for joining us. Coach Robin Renee, so glad you're still here. You missed Adventure with me earlier, who was talking about outdoor access and programming and all that kind of stuff. So it was very cool. The kid that I'm working with right now, I have a 10-year-old that I'm working with, and his parents have sent him to me to just work on Fridays or Saturdays, whatever. Over the summer, it's turned into twice a week. He's absolutely loving it. And as my psychologist client was talking to me this morning about, I think that's why I'm kind of fired up, because him and I have these like in-depth conversations around these things, and he gets a clinical perspective that he lends to me, and I give him our perspective and all these things. I was talking about my 10-year-old client, and he said to me, you're mentoring him. And I didn't think about that. I didn't realize the fact that I was mentoring him, but I am. I'm giving him the tools for movement. I'll just tell you why I say that. Because it's not like I said, okay, I'm going to mentor this kid for the next 97 years. It's when I do this. He'll come in, and instead of me having the room set up with our exercises and whatever props we're using and whatever equipment we need, he'll come in, I'll get him going on an exercise, and then I'll be like, oh, I need to get this thing from across the room. I'll be right back. and then I walk really slow to get the piece of equipment. The reason why I walk really slow to get the equipment is because I discovered that earlier in our workout sessions is that when I went out of the room to get something, when I actually legitimately did forget it, I went out to get the room and come back in and he's doing something different. He's made up an exercise. He's using the chair. He's hook up some springs, or he's just like exploring movement. And what he's exploring movement with was actually really good exercises, and I write them down, right? Because I thought, oh, never thought of crossing that and hooking that spring to that thing and making that an exercise. That's movement, that counts. So then I start to be intentional with that, and I go out of the room, mosey on across, and grab a piece of equipment, and stop and say hi to someone on the way back, and come in, and he's made up some exercise. I've given him enough tools that he can go explore movement, and we go from there. That's a cool exercise. Never thought about that. Let's try that and let's add this to that. Nice. That's going to get us exactly where I wanted to go, even though I had this idea in mind. That's the mentoring piece. I'm giving him tools. I'm allowing him to explore movement. We're having conversation around it. It's not like, wait, we're supposed to do the roll up now. Get back to your roll up. It's a different kind of conversation. So I unconsciously have begun to mentor this kid. Now, what do I do with that? He's going to go in different schools, and I'm going to keep circling back. What's he doing now? What sport is he playing now? How can I help him? Okay, you're doing hockey now? Awesome. Let's get you in, get you doing some sport conditioning. Oh, you're doing swimming? Boom, right? Yes, we've cultivated that safe space and that confidence that he knows that he can do stuff. And also, this is the funnest part for me as being a parent, is I set him up to fail. I will do things that will make him scared. I will give him an exercise I know that he's going to want to come back next week and own, because there's impossible he's going to get it today. So I give him safe places to fail, confidence to move, and a space to do it in. So yes. Sorry if it sounds like I'm bragging. I'm really excited about his journey, and I really think that we need to be doing more of that with everybody, not just with young people. Misty, I'm going to bring you on if you're good to go. Yes, Patricia, giving freedom. So true.
Hi.
Hey.
Better.
There you go.
So I have so much to say, as you know.
Yes. Can I throw in one last little mini story before you jump in with your
Please.
diatribe? Because I know it's going to be so good. So the same kid, it always is good. So this kid that I'm working with yesterday, right? Same guy I just told the story about. So I'm teaching him how to do like rolling like a ball. And he's like, oh yeah, we did this before. I know how to do this. I'm like, okay, cool. And then as he's doing, he's like, this reminds me of when I was a kid. He's 10. He's like, this reminds me of when I was a kid. We used to do somersaults and kind of rolls and stuff like that, right? So I'm like, okay, yeah, so it's fine. He's like, I used to do this as a kid all the time. So he's doing it. I was like, okay, you nailed it. So now try it like this. Oh, it's a little bit harder, right? He says, okay, but you got it. I was like, good. Now try it like this. I gave him another thing, and he does it. And I'm like, okay, well, try it like this. He's like, you're ruining my childhood and my rules, okay? I was like, I'm writing this down. Maybe I'm ruining your childhood because I'm making your role not fun. It's actually turning into work now. So it's so funny.
It's hilarious, actually. And yet, isn't that a lot of what this is, right? We've been haphazardly flailing about through life, and then all of a sudden, oh man, I can't do that anymore. Let me like figure it out and where But I think this is such a great topic. I could, as you know, talk about it all the time. But you know, I think of the balance between teaching, which is like, let's use a Karate Kid analogy. It is, you know, what's happening at Eagle Fang and all those other places. Maybe not Eagle Fang. But then the Cobra Kai, that's it. And then you look at Miyagi-Do, and they very much learning about life through the art and through the skill, which is why they win all the time, right? Because they have the life lessons to go along with the work that they're doing. And,
Yes.
that's why I said, not everyone is ready to be mentored. Sometimes people come to us with a particular mindset that they're just not willing to let go. Even people who know the work, teaching the work and doing the work for 82 years.
Yes.
So ready to mentor or be mentored. It's almost like you're saying, I have this foundation, but I only want to tap into it in a way that is going to help me go beyond that. And so
Yes.
it's bringing my life or bringing our students' lives to the work that we do. I have clients that I mentor and teacher training students that I just teach because of where they are in their process and where they want to be in their growth and what they view what we're doing as.
Their capacity.
Their, I would say, extrinsic versus intrinsic capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll get
Absolutely.
like, they're like this, give me more, give me more, give me more. But then when you go to give them more, they're like, Heisman, I don't want anything that you have for me because I really have it all. I'm just like, here. So it's that capacity, it's that willingness to expand versus, I'm here for the t-shirt.
Right. Yes. But yeah, and my heart goes out to people who are there for the whole experience and then settle for the t-shirt because it's too uncomfortable.
Well, and that there's another life lesson, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
training and being able to speak up. One of the things that I always try to say to my students, whether I'm mentoring them or teacher training them, is you have to know how you show up, how you arrive at this work that I'm giving you.
Yes.
Beyond what the book says, beyond what the exercise looks like on that person over there. And if you
Right.
can't access that, then you're not going to be able to assess where you're going.
Yes. Absolutely. I'd love for people to answer Hiking Jason's question in the comment section while Missy and I wrestle with this a little bit. So I want to hear some perspectives on it. Hi, Brooke B. Tyler. So do you think it's harder to be a mentor or to have the willingness to be mentored?
Ooh, Jason, that's serious.
Mm.
You know, I love being a mentor. And, I
Yes.
never really thought about what I did as mentoring until maybe about 5 years ago when someone said, you've been mentoring me for years, Anne. And I was like,
Who?
I'm
Yeah.
just here, um, because it's something that comes naturally to me, and it's something that really fills me up because seeing that growth happen in other people is exciting. Like sometimes after a
Yes.
weekend, when I have students that really, really want to grow beyond just the movement, I mean, I can't sleep because I'm so excited. After the third day, I'm like laying in bed, like, oh man, that was so great. And, basking.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
when I think the willingness to be mentored piece, that is that deep personal dive that a lot of people don't like to do in any aspect of their life.
Yes.
So for me, I think I'm always willing to be mentored personally because I love what it feels like to mentor. I love what it feels like to be in
Yes.
a place where that reciprocal learning is so
Mm-hmm.
powerful. Fuel.
And to both Shannon and to Brooke's comments, and I guess to Carrie's as well, I'll read them through and I'll share my kind of thought that bounce off of those two. Shannon's saying, I love both. Being mentored allows you to be a better mentor. Brooke is saying, I think the best mentors are also willing and wanting to be open to being mentored too. Wow, this comments are coming fast. Carrie is saying, I prefer the word facilitator and guide and collaborator. I specialize in post-certification education, and that's where a lot of that mentoring happens. Patricia says both require trust and patience. Kevin, great discussion. Always be willing to be a student. Thanks, Kevin. Shannon is saying we teach our cadets that it is important to remember that you have gotten from our program and to give back to others. You've received and give. And then Amit saying, I think it depends on one's personality. For some, it's easier to always learn and receive, and for others, it's easier to share and mentor.
Great.
I always love his perspective on things. And then Brooke is saying, lastly, the ability to truly receive and to be mentored might be rare.
I always get Mr. Miyagi vibes from Amit, always. Yes. So I love his perspective as well. I think it's great. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all good. I think that I check on every time that I've entered into a mentoring relationship, it's not because I wanted to learn the thing, it's because I wanted to be equipped to teach the thing.
See, and I think that it goes both ways.
It does go both ways, but I mean, I think, and it doesn't matter whether it's Pilates or whatever, anything in my life that I've done, where even like this city council thing, like I'm going to a mentor relationship because I want to own this space. I want to learn everything and then use everything I've learned to empower the next person with it, as opposed to say I'm the best at it. It's to be like, I am the person who's going to equip the next people who are going to do it. That scope of impact or scope of influence, like Jen was saying. Wow, all these comments coming through, and we got a minute.
And where Shannon is, if you're the smartest person in the room, leave the room.
Yes.
And that's truly the way I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I either want to pull up to surpass me, or I want to come in and build myself up to a certain level of knowledge. But I don't ever want to be Confucius. Just not my jam. I want to be learning forever and always.
Yes, absolutely. Whew.
You had to like channel your inner deeper picture pages there. You were like trying to.
I know.
I've been listening the whole time, and I've been loving.
Yes. In the minutes that's left, I think I'm not going to do a core conversations tomorrow because Alex and I are going on a day date.
Ooh.
Lionel Richie is playing in Buffalo. So we're like, peace out. We're going to Buffalo for the day.
Lionel Richie. We have to have a conversation about this. I mean, yeah. Well,
yeah.
Joy, have so much fun. Tell Alex I said hi, and everybody. What a great
I know, such a great chat.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We're out. Bye.
Bye.